February 25th is not an ordinary date on your calendar. It is a spiritual checkpoint, a divine interruption, a moment marked in the unseen realm long before you even realized it was approaching. Right now, as you are listening to this message, something has already shifted in the atmosphere around your life. There is a holy urgency attached to this day. This is not about fear. This is about protection. This is not about panic. This is about preservation. February 25th carries a warning, but it also carries a miracle. In the spirit, there's a road ahead of you. You have been moving forward, making plans, considering decisions, preparing for your next step. You thought everything was clear. You thought the path was open. But suddenly, there had been resistance, a delay, a strange interruption. Something feels paused. Something feels blocked. And you have been wondering, why now? Why is this happening? What you could not see is that this is not rejection. This is not failure. This is not misfortune. This is intervention. Archangel Michael is standing in the road ahead of you, not to harm you, not to frighten you, but to stop you from stepping into something that was carefully positioned to damage your destiny. There was an accident intended for your future, a collision designed to disrupt your calling, a trap set at a specific time, in a specific place, engineered to look ordinary but meant to create chaos. The enemy studies timing. He studies patterns. He studies momentum. And when he sees movement in your life, he attempts to create sudden impact. But what he did not account for was divine surveillance. On saw it before it formed. Before the conversation was scheduled. Before the contract was signed. Before the trip was taken. Before the decision was finalized. Heaven detected what you could not. And now, on February 25th, there is a divine roadblock in place. A warrior presence positioned directly between you and what was meant to derail you. What looks like inconvenience is actually rescue. What feels like frustration is actually shielding. You are being preserved in real time. There are moments in life when God whispers, and there are moments when he interrupts. This is an interruption, because what was ahead was not small. It was not minor. It had the potential to shake your confidence, slow your progress, and distract you from your assignment. It was crafted to look harmless at first glance, but beneath the surface, it carried consequences, and heaven refused to let you walk into it unaware. You may have sensed something unusual lately, a heaviness before making a move, a delay that didn't make sense, a plan that suddenly shifted, a door that seemed open but would not fully unlock. That is not coincidence. That is covering. When Archangel Michael blocks a road, it is not because you are unworthy of moving forward. It is because the timing of your destiny is too important to be left exposed. There are seasons when acceleration is necessary, and there are moments when stopping is survival. February 25th is a divine pause button. It is a sacred halt designed to protect the future version of you. Because the truth is, your destiny is under watch. Your progress has not gone unnoticed. The growth you have experienced, the clarity you have gained, the faith you have been building, it has all signaled that you are stepping into something greater. And when greatness approaches, resistance intensifies. But here is the rare revelation. Not every resistance is from the enemy trying to stop you. Sometimes resistance is from heaven trying to save you. If you had continued at the same speed, if you had pushed through that uneasy feeling, if you had ignored that subtle nudge, you might have stepped directly into a collision that would have taken months, maybe years, to recover from. This is why this message is urgent. This is why you had to open this quickly. Because timing matters. Alignment matters. Awareness matters. Archangel Michael is not blocking you to delay your blessing. He is blocking what was meant to damage it. There is something ahead that looked aligned but was not assigned. Something that appeared beneficial but carried hidden cost. Something that seemed like progress but would have produced setback. And heaven stepped in before impact. Right now, in this very moment, there is a routing happening. You cannot see all the details yet. You cannot understand every shift. But what you must understand is this. You are being guarded. There is divine strategy unfolding around you. The accident that was intended for your destiny is being diverted. The collision is being canceled. The harm is being redirected away from your path. This is not a random message. This is a February 25th alert. Stop. Pause. Discern. Because when heaven blocks a road, it is not punishment, it is protection. And what is being prevented today will become the testimony you thank God for tomorrow. There are moments in life when everything seems ready to move forward, and then suddenly, nothing moves. The email does not go through. The meeting gets postponed. The opportunity that looked certain begins to wobble. Travel plans shift. Conversations stall. Doors that appeared wide open start to close without explanation. And in those moments, the human instinct is to push harder, to force progress, to question yourself, to assume something has gone wrong. But what if nothing has gone wrong? What if February 25th is revealing that something has gone right in the unseen realm? When heaven says stop, it does not always come with thunder or visible signs. Sometimes it comes disguised as inconvenience. Sometimes it feels like friction. You try to move forward, and there is resistance. You try again, and something delays you. You adjust, and still, there is hesitation in the atmosphere. This is the blocked road, and the blocked road is not an enemy barricade. It is a divine boundary. Many people misunderstand resistance. They think that if something is difficult, it must be opposition trying to prevent progress. But spiritual discernment teaches something deeper. There is a difference between being attacked and being protected. An attack pushes you into chaos. Protection slows you before chaos finds you. An attack confuses your spirit. Protection steadies it, even if your mind does not yet understand. Right now, some of you listening have felt this exact tension. You have felt ready to take a leap, ready to sign, ready to say yes, ready to commit. But something inside you paused. A subtle discomfort. A whisper you could not fully explain. That whisper was not fear. It was warning. That hesitation was not weakness. It was covering. When Archangel Michael stands in the road, he does not negotiate with danger. He blocks it. He stands as a warrior between you and what was meant to disrupt your calling. And sometimes that warrior stance looks like delay in your calendar. Sometimes it looks like a closed door that makes no sense. But in the spirit, it looks like a shield raised at exactly the right second. February 25th is highlighting something crucial. Not every green light is safe, and not every red light is denial. There are seasons where acceleration is blessing, and there are moments where stopping is mercy. If heaven is slowing you, it is because something ahead required interception. Think about it. What have you recently tried to move forward that suddenly felt blocked? What conversation shifted tone unexpectedly? What opportunity began to unravel without clear reason? Instead of reacting with frustration, ask yourself a different question. What might I be protected from? This is not about living in suspicion. It is about living in awareness. Because the truth is, destiny carries weight. And when your destiny begins to gain momentum, both heaven and darkness respond. Darkness tries to create collision. Heaven creates prevention. And on February 25th, prevention is winning. You may not see the accident that was intended. You may never fully know how close it was. But the fact that you are experiencing a pause right now is evidence of divine involvement. There are things you will never have to recover from because they will never be allowed to happen. And this is why your response matters. Instead of forcing doors, choose trust. Instead of rushing ahead, choose discernment. Instead of interpreting delay as failure, recognize it as strategy. There is a rerouting happening. There is a divine recalibration unfolding in real time. If this message is speaking directly to your current situation, if you have felt blocked, delayed, or redirected, take a moment right now to acknowledge it. Type "I trust the divine detour" in the comments as a declaration of alignment. When you like this message, you are not just engaging with a video. You are standing in agreement with the protection over your life. Share this with someone who has been frustrated by delays lately. They may not realize that what feels like obstruction is actually salvation. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do it now as a step of spiritual awareness. Because messages like this are not random. They are timely alerts. There is something powerful about public agreement. When you declare trust instead of fear, you shift the atmosphere around your decisions. You align yourself with heaven's strategy rather than human impulse. And that alignment matters more than you realize. The blocked road is not the end of your journey. It is a checkpoint, a moment of divine inspection before you are allowed to continue. Imagine a warrior standing ahead, sword drawn, not against you, but against what was waiting for you. That image is not symbolic. It is spiritual reality. Heaven does not block without reason. Heaven does not delay without purpose. And heaven does not interrupt without foresight. On February 25th, if something feels paused, do not panic. Lean in. Listen closely. Because when heaven says stop, it is preparing to reveal why moving too soon would have cost you more than you knew. There is something you must understand clearly today. Not every accident is random. In the physical world, accidents look sudden, unexpected, unplanned. But in the spiritual realm, many collisions are calculated, timed, positioned carefully along the road of your progress. What you call coincidence, the enemy calls strategy. And what you almost stepped into was not a small disruption. It was a destiny accident. A destiny accident is not just a bad day. It is not just a minor setback. It is an event designed to knock you off course at a critical moment. It comes when you are gaining clarity. It strikes when you are building confidence. It appears right as you begin stepping into alignment with your purpose. The enemy studies momentum. He watches when your faith strengthens. He notices when your discernment sharpens. And when he cannot stop your calling directly, he attempts to create a collision that slows it down. This is what was ahead of you. It may have looked like an opportunity. It may have looked like a harmless conversation. It may have looked like a partnership, a decision, a journey, or a commitment. But beneath the surface, it carried hidden impact. The kind that drains your energy. The kind that disturbs your peace. The kind that entangles you in complications you did not foresee. And here is the sobering truth. It was time. There are moments in destiny when you are especially vulnerable. Not because you are weak, but because you are transitioning. Transitions create exposure. When you shift levels, when you prepare for elevation, when you move from one season into another, there is spiritual movement around you, and that movement attracts attention. The enemy waits for transitions. He waits for moments when your focus is forward, and then he attempts to strike from the side. But what he did not anticipate was interception. Before the collision could occur, heaven intervened. Before the impact could shake your life, Archangel Michael was positioned ahead of you. That uneasiness you felt, that was warning. That unexpected delay, that was protection. That door that suddenly would not open, that was shielding. You were not being rejected. You were being rescued. Some of you would have walked straight into emotional chaos. Others would have stepped into financial strain. Some might have found themselves entangled in relationships that drained your spiritual strength. And a few of you were dangerously close to decisions that would have altered your direction for years. But February 25th became a divine checkpoint, a moment where heaven said, "No further." The accident intended for your destiny is being diverted right now. There are angels assigned to guard not only your body, but your calling. Not only your safety, but your assignment. When your destiny carries purpose, it also carries opposition. And that opposition does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it disguises itself as urgency. Sometimes it pressures you to decide quickly. Sometimes it whispers, "This is your only chance." But divine guidance never pressures. It leads with clarity and peace. You may never fully see what was prevented. You may never know how close you were to impact. But one day, you will look back at this delay and whisper gratitude, because the very thing that frustrated you saved you. There is another layer to this. The enemy does not just aim to cause harm, he aims to cause discouragement. A destiny accident is meant to make you question yourself, to make you doubt your discernment, to make you wonder if you misunderstood your path. It is designed to create internal confusion. But heaven's intervention is preserving not only your circumstances, but your confidence. You are being kept steady for what is ahead. And here is what makes this even more powerful. The diversion is happening in real time. While you are listening, while you are breathing, while you are processing these words, there is spiritual activity unfolding on your behalf. What was aligned against you is being dismantled. What was positioned to collide with you is being redirected. This is not luck. This is not chance. This is intentional protection. But listen carefully. What comes next changes everything. Because the block in front of you is not only about what was prevented. It is about what is being prepared instead. There is a new route forming. A safer passage. A clearer alignment. And in the next part, you will begin to understand why February 25th is more than a warning. It is a turning point you cannot afford to misunderstand. Before we continue, receive this blessing. Type "divinely protected" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 942 is now activated. As you declare those words, may every hidden trap assigned to your path be exposed and dismantled. May every timed collision be canceled. May every unseen threat lose its momentum. You are shielded. You are covered. You are guided. And you will be glad you stayed connected for what is about to be revealed next. If this message has stirred your spirit, this is more than a moment of listening. It is a moment of sowing. When you release a super thanks, join as a member, or give through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are not supporting a channel. You are fueling a river of warning and protection that reaches souls before impact. Scripture declares, "I will rebuke the devourer for your sake," and today that promise is alive and speaking over you. When you act in generosity, you become part of that divine interception for someone else. I feel led to say this clearly. I am stepping into obedience right now. Let your giving be a prophetic act that says, Lord, use me to block accidents and other destinies. As you sow into this mission, may oil of protection flow over your household. Do not delay this assignment. Move as you are led, and seal this moment with action. February 25th is not just a warning date. It is a dividing line, a spiritual marker set between what could have happened and what will now unfold instead. There are moments in destiny that act as hinges. Everything before them carries one trajectory. Everything after them carries another. And this day stands as that hinge in your life. You may wake up on February 25th and see nothing unusual with your physical eyes. The sun may rise as it always does. The routines of your day may appear normal. But in the unseen realm, this date carries weight. It carries the echo of a decision made in heaven on your behalf. A decision that what was planned against you will not proceed. A decision that your timeline will not be hijacked. A decision that your destiny is too valuable to be left unguarded. Turning points rarely announce themselves loudly. They often arrive disguised as interruptions. A canceled plan. A sudden change. An unexpected reaction. And at first, you may not recognize their significance. But later, sometimes much later, you will look back and say, that was the moment everything shifted. February 25th is that moment. Up until now, there has been tension building around your next step. You have sensed movement. You have felt anticipation. You have been preparing internally for something greater. But there has also been pressure. A strange urgency. Almost like something was trying to rush you into motion before clarity was complete. That pressure was not random. It was strategic. And today, that strategy is being interrupted. When God marks a turning point, He does not simply block danger. He adjusts direction. He recalibrates timing. He restructures alignment. The path ahead of you is not being erased. It is being refined. What seemed immediate may now be postponed. What felt urgent may now require patience. But this refinement is not loss. It is precision. There is something powerful about divine timing. When you move too soon, even good opportunities can become heavy burdens. When you move too late, doors can close. But when you move in sync with heaven's clock, progress flows without strain. February 25th is about synchronization. It is about bringing your steps into rhythm with protection. Some of you have been questioning your instincts recently. You wondered if you were overthinking. You wondered if your hesitation was fear. But what if your hesitation was heaven adjusting your pace? What if that pause was not doubt, but discernment? This turning point is restoring your confidence in your spiritual sensitivity. It is teaching you that the subtle checks in your spirit are not weakness. They are guidance. There is another dimension to this turning point that you must not overlook. When an accident is diverted, it creates space. Space for something better to emerge. Space for a clearer opportunity. Space for a safer connection. Space for a wiser decision. The very thing that was meant to entangle you has now been removed from your timeline. And in its place, a clearer path is forming. This is why February 25th matters. Because if the collision had occurred, your energy would have been redirected toward recovery. Instead of building, you would have been repairing. Instead of advancing, you would have been stabilizing. Instead of focusing on purpose, you would have been managing fallout. But now, because of divine intervention, your energy remains intact. Your focus remains steady. Your forward momentum remains available. Turning points also expose loyalty. They reveal whether you trust the block or resent it, whether you lean into faith or resist the pause. This day is inviting you to choose trust. A blind trust, but informed trust. Trust that understands that heaven sees angles you cannot. Trust that believes protection is active even when explanations are limited. You may feel a mixture of relief and confusion right now. Relief because something does not feel as heavy as it did before. Confusion because you cannot fully articulate what changed. That subtle shift is evidence of the turning point taking effect. The atmosphere around your decisions is clearing. The urgency that once pressured you is losing its grip, and clarity is beginning to rise where tension once stood. February 25th is also a reminder that destiny is not fragile. It is guarded. It is monitored. It is watched over with intention. The road ahead is not random pavement. It is designed terrain. And when obstacles appear, they are not always threats. Sometimes they are checkpoints ensuring that what travels forward is prepared and protected. This turning point is not about shrinking your future. It is about strengthening it. It is about ensuring that when you step into the next season, you do so without hidden fractures from preventable impact. It is about aligning your progress with peace rather than pressure. And here is the most important truth of all. After February 25th, the road will open again. But it will not be the same road. It will be a rerouted path, a safer alignment, a cleaner direction. You will sense the difference. Where there was strain, there will be steadiness. Where there was confusion, there will be confirmation. Where there was pressure, there will be peace. This is not just a pause. It is preparation. February 25th stands as the day heaven stepped between you and a collision, and then quietly adjusted your future for something greater. Picture this in your spirit. A long road stretching ahead of you. The sky is dim, not dark, but uncertain. You are walking forward with intention. You have plans in your heart. You have momentum in your steps. And just as you are about to move into the next stretch of that road, a powerful figure stands before you. Unthreatening, not hostile, but immovable, radiant with authority, calm yet fierce. This is not imagination. This is revelation. Archangel Michael is standing in the road ahead of you. When heaven sends a warrior to block your path, it is not because you are being denied. It is because you are being defended. Archangel Michael is not assigned to small matters. He is a guardian of destiny, a defender in spiritual conflict, a commander in unseen battles. If he is positioned ahead of you, it means what was approaching carrying more weight than you realized. There are moments when subtle nudges are enough. But then there are moments when heaven sends a warrior because subtlety is not sufficient. Something significant was in motion. You must understand this. When you felt that resistance, when your plans slowed down, when your steps hesitated, it was not weakness overtaking you. It was strength shielding you. Michael does not block randomly. He blocks strategically. He stands between you and impact. He intercepts what you cannot detect with natural senses. There are dangers that are obvious, and then there are dangers that are disguised. The obvious ones are easy to avoid. The disguised ones require intervention. The accident intended for your destiny was not loud. It was subtle. It wore the mask of opportunity. It carried the appearance of progress. But beneath that appearance, it held disruption. And so the warrior stood. Imagine how many unseen confrontations have already taken place on your behalf. How many conflicts were resolved before you ever knew they existed. How many outcomes shifted because heaven refused to let certain forces cross a boundary around your life? This is not poetic imagery. This is spiritual reality. Protection is not passive. It is active. It engages. It confronts. It restrains. Some of you have been questioning why certain things suddenly felt impossible. You tried to move forward, and everything became complicated. Communication broke down. Timelines shifted. Support withdrew. Doors that once seemed promising felt heavy. It was as though something invisible was saying, "Not this way." That invisible barrier was not rejection. It was a shield. When Archangel Michael stands in your road, he is not only blocking what is harmful, he is signaling that your destiny carries value. Heaven does not dispatch war-level protection for something insignificant. The level of defense reveals the level of purpose attached to your life. This should change how you see your delays. Instead of viewing them as obstacles, begin to see them as evidence. Evidence that your future is being guarded. Evidence that your calling is not casual. Evidence that what you are stepping into matters in ways you cannot yet measure. There are assignments connected to you. There are people who will be impacted by your obedience. There are outcomes that hinge on your alignment. And because of that, protection has been intensified. There is also something deeply personal about this intervention. Michael is not standing in a crowd. He is standing in your road. The attention of heaven has been directed specifically toward your movement. That means your prayers have been heard, even the ones you whispered without words, even the ones that were just sighs of uncertainty. Protection responds not only to spoken requests, but to divine awareness of need. You may never see the exact form of what was stopped. You may never know the precise details of what was dismantled. But the stillness you feel now compared to the tension you felt before is proof of confrontation resolved. Something was challenged. Something was restrained. Something was told, "You will not proceed." There is power in the declaration. And here is the deeper layer. Michael is not only blocking. He is waiting for the right moment to step aside and signal that the path is clear. Heaven does not block permanently when destiny is involved. It blocks until danger passes. It stands firm until the threat is neutralized. Then, and only then, does movement resume. This is why patience right now is sacred. If you attempt to rush past a divine guard, you step outside of covering. But if you honor the block, you remain under protection. There is a difference between stubborn persistence and faithful endurance. One fights the shield. The other rests behind it. Right now, the warrior stands, sword drawn, presence steady, not to intimidate you, but to defend you. The road ahead is under surveillance. The timing of your next step is being measured with precision. Nothing is random. Nothing is overlooked. And when the moment is right, when the atmosphere is safe, when the rerouting is complete, you will sense it. The heaviness will lift. The path will feel open without pressure. The next move will carry peace instead of strain. Until then, recognize the honor in being guarded. Archangel Michael is standing in the road ahead of you because your destiny is worth defending. There are delays that frustrate you, and then there are delays that save you. At first glance, they feel identical. They interrupt your plans. They test your patience. They make you question your timing. But only later do you realize that what felt like inconvenience was actually intervention. Right now, you may be standing inside a delay you do not fully understand. Something you expected to move quickly has slowed down. Something you thought would resolve smoothly has become complicated. And the natural reaction is to ask, why is this happening to me? But the deeper question is this: what is this delay protecting me from? Because sometimes the only thing standing between you and devastation is a few minutes of interruption. A missed exit. A postponed meeting. A call that came late. A door that would not open when you knocked. These small moments can carry massive consequences in the unseen realm. There are testimonies that people share years later with trembling gratitude. If I had left 5 minutes earlier, if that argument had not delayed me, if that appointment had not been rescheduled, they begin to see the invisible hand that adjusted their timeline. They begin to recognize that what they once complained about was the very thing that preserved them. This is what February 25th represents for you. A divine adjustment of timing. A holy recalibration. You may never know the full scope of what was avoided. You may never see the collision that was prevented. But heaven knows. And heaven acted. Delays are not always denial. Sometimes they are divine choreography. Imagine your life as a series of intersections. At each intersection, timing determines what crosses your path. If you arrive too soon, you meet one outcome. If you arrive too late, you meet another. But when heaven adjusts your arrival, it is because something dangerous was scheduled to intersect with you. The enemy counts on precise timing. He plans disruptions based on your forward motion. When he sees you gaining confidence, he accelerates distraction. When he sees you approaching breakthrough, he positions discouragement. But he cannot override divine authority. And when God decides to shift your schedule, no strategy can force collision. You may have been irritated recently by something that did not go according to plan. A deal that stalled. A relationship that paused. A trip that changed. A response that never came. And you interpreted that as loss. But what if it was life-saving redirection? What if the delay removed you from an environment where your peace would have been shattered? What if it spared you from entanglement that would have drained your spiritual strength? There are things worse than waiting. There are consequences worse than inconvenience. There are outcomes that would have required years of repair. And instead of letting you walk into that repair season, heaven chose prevention. The delay that saved your life does not always announce itself as heroic. It often feels ordinary. That is why it is easy to resent it. But spiritual maturity teaches you to pause before complaining. It teaches you to ask, Lord, what are you protecting me from? It teaches you to trust that if movement has slowed, it is not because you are forgotten, but because you are being guarded. There is also a refining element to delay. It slows your emotions. It clears your thoughts. It gives you space to reassess motives and alignment. Sometimes we move forward fueled by excitement rather than discernment. Delay cools that excitement long enough for clarity to rise. It exposes red flags that enthusiasm might have ignored. It reveals misalignments that urgency would have overlooked. Think about the last thing you felt rushed about. Was there pressure attached to it? Was there a sense that you had to decide immediately or lose the opportunity? Divine guidance does not manipulate you with fear of missing out. It leads with assurance. When delay removes urgency, it restores perspective. And here is something profound. The delay did not weaken your destiny. It strengthened it. Because now, instead of advancing into uncertainty, you are advancing with awareness. Instead of stepping blindly, you are stepping with insight. Instead of being caught off guard, you are being positioned intentionally. The delay is not a punishment. It is a shield stretched across your timeline. Some of you will look back at February 25th months from now and say that with the day everything shifted. Not because something dramatic happened in the visible world, but because something dangerous was quietly removed. You will realize that the frustration you felt was temporary, but the protection you received was lasting. There is peace available when you accept this truth. Peace replaces anxiety. Gratitude replaces irritation. Trust replaces doubt. And as that shift happens inside you, you become less reactive to delays and more receptive to guidance. The road will open again. Movement will resume. Plans will unfold. But you will carry a different awareness. You will remember that what feels like interruption can be salvation. You will recognize that timing is sacred. And you will understand that the God who blocks is the same God who blesses. The delay that saved your life is not a story of weakness. It is a story of divine involvement. It is proof that you are seen. Proof that you are valued. Proof that your destiny is being guarded with precision. And one day, when you see what could have happened but did not, gratitude will fill the space where frustration once lived. There is a difference between a dead end and a detour. A dead end stops you permanently. A detour redirects you temporarily. And what you are experiencing right now is not the termination of your journey. It is the diversion strategy of God. When heaven blocks a road, it never leaves you stranded. It reroutes you. It recalculates your path with greater precision than you could ever design on your own. What feels like sudden change is actually divine navigation. And February 25th marks the moment that your spiritual coordinates were adjusted for safety and success. You may have had a clear picture in your mind of how things were supposed to unfold. You saw the timeline. You envisioned the sequence. You felt confident in the direction. But destiny is not guided by human expectation alone. It is guided by divine oversight. And sometimes, what appears to be the fastest route contains unseen hazards. God's diversions are strategic, not reactive. He does not wait for disaster to occur before intervening. He sees the bend in the road long before you reach it. He knows what is hidden around corners. He detects instability in structures that look stable from a distance. And when necessary, he redirects you before you ever encounter the danger. The diversion strategy of God often feels uncomfortable at first. It requires you to release attachment to your original plan. It asks you to trust without full explanation. It challenges your need for control. But within that discomfort is protection. Within that rerouting is preservation. Think about how navigation systems work. When a road is blocked ahead, the system recalculates. It does not argue with the obstacle. It does not try to force passage. It simply finds another way to reach the same destination, sometimes even a better one. That is what is happening in your life right now. The destination remains. The promise remains. The calling remains. But the route is being refined. Some of you have mistaken the diversion for rejection. You assumed that because something shifted, it meant you missed your opportunity. But divine diversions do not cancel destiny. They safeguard it. They ensure that when you arrive whole, not wounded by unnecessary collisions, not burdened by preventable damage. There is also something humbling about being routed. It reminds you that you are not navigating alone. It reminds you that there is wisdom beyond your perception. It invites you to lean into trust rather than stubborn persistence. Because sometimes the greatest danger is not the obstacle itself, but the refusal to adjust. The accident that was intended for your destiny required more than a simple pause. It required a new direction. The environment you were about to step into carried unseen instability. The alignment was slightly off. The timing was slightly premature. And those slight misalignments can create major consequences over time. God's diversion strategy corrects small errors before they become large fractures. You may notice subtle changes now, new ideas emerging, different opportunities presenting themselves, conversations shifting tone, invitations that once felt urgent now losing intensity. These are signs of rerouting. The atmosphere around your decisions is changing. The pressure you once felt is being replaced with clarity. Diverting also protects your energy. If you had walked into what was ahead, your focus would have been consumed by repair. You would have spent precious time managing consequences instead of building purpose. But because of this reroute, your strength remains intact. Your creativity remains available. Your spiritual momentum remains unbroken. It is important to understand that divine diversion is not punishment for a wrong move. It is protection from a wrong outcome. Sometimes you can be sincere and still misalign. You can be hopeful and still unaware of hidden risks. That is why grace intervenes. That is why protection activates even when you think you are making the right choice. There is freedom in accepting the reroute. When you stop fighting the change, peace begins to settle. When you release the need to understand every detail, clarity begins to unfold naturally. When you trust that the new direction is safer than the old one, anxiety loses its grip. February 25th is not about what you lost. It is about what you avoided. It is not about what closed. It is about what was preserved. The road you were initially traveling may have seemed promising, but the diversion now forming carries deeper alignment. And here is the beautiful truth. Sometimes the rerouted path leads to blessings you would never have discovered otherwise. New connections, new insights, new levels of spiritual maturity. What begins as redirection can end as revelation. Do not interpret the diversion as delay in your destiny. Interpret it as design within your destiny. The hand that blocked the road is the same hand that is guiding you forward. The voice that said stop is the same voice that will say move at the right time. Trust the reroute, because the God who diverts is the God who delivers. And the path being prepared for you now is not only safer, it is stronger, clearer, and more aligned with the fullness of who you are becoming. There is a reason the message says, open quickly. It is not about panic. It is about responsiveness. It is about spiritual alertness. When heaven sends an interruption, it requires participation. Protection may be activated, but alignment is still your responsibility. February 25th is not only a day of divine blocking, it is a day of divine instruction. To open quickly means to open your eyes before assumptions settle in. It means to open your heart before frustration takes root. It means to open your discernment before pride convinces you to push forward anyway. Because the most dangerous thing you can do in a moment of divine intervention is ignore it. Sometimes we become so attached to our expectations that we resist new instructions. We convince ourselves that we already know the way. We tell ourselves that the delay is temporary inconvenience rather than meaningful guidance. But when heaven blocks a road and whispers, open quickly, it is signaling that there is information available, if you are willing to receive it. Opening quickly is about humility. It is the posture that says, Lord, if you are redirecting me, show me why. It is the willingness to pause long enough to hear the adjustment. It is choosing awareness over impulse, because impulse would rush ahead. Awareness waits for clarity. There is something time-sensitive about this moment, not in a fearful sense but in a purposeful one. The accident intended for your destiny is being diverted, but the rerouted path requires your cooperation. If you remain closed in your thinking, closed in your expectations, closed in your emotions, you may miss the safer route unfolding beside you. Some of you are holding tightly to a plan that heaven has already released from your timeline, and the tension you feel is the friction between your will and divine protection. Opening quickly means loosening your grip. It means trusting that if something was blocked, it was not your final destination. Open your mind to new possibilities. Open your schedule to new timing. Open your spirit to new discernment. There may be subtle instructions rising within you right now. A nudge to reconsider. A sense to step back and reevaluate. Do not dismiss these impressions. They are not random. They are guidance emerging in response to protection. To open quickly also means to release fear. When plans shift, fear tries to fill the silence. It whispers worst-case scenarios. It suggests loss where there is actually preservation. But fear cannot see what heaven sees. Fear focuses on what is blocked. Faith focuses on what is being built. The urgency in this instruction is about alignment. The faster you align, the smoother the transition becomes. Resistance prolongs confusion. Surrender accelerates clarity. When you open your spirit to the reroute, peace begins to replace pressure. Direction begins to feel lighter instead of heavier. You may notice that certain conversations feel different now. Certain desires no longer carry the same intensity. Certain options appear less appealing than they did before. That is not instability. It is adjustment. The road ahead is being refined, and your internal compass is recalibrating with it. Opening quickly also means being honest with yourself. Were there red flags you overlooked because you were excited? Were there subtle warnings you brushed aside because you did not want to change direction? This is not about guilt. It is about growth. Divine protection not only blocks danger, it teaches discernment. February 25th is offering you a rare opportunity, the chance to pivot before pain, the chance to shift before damage, the chance to step into clarity without carrying scars from avoidable collisions. Do not underestimate how powerful this moment is, because what you choose to open or close right now determines the quality of the path ahead. If you open to wisdom, the next steps will feel steady. If you cling to frustration, confusion may linger longer than necessary. The choice is yours. There is also a deeper layer to this urgency. When heaven intervenes visibly in your life, it increases your accountability. You cannot say you were unaware. You cannot say there was no signal. The block was clear. The pause was evident. The message was delivered. Now the response becomes sacred. Open quickly to gratitude. Instead of asking why something did not work, thank God that something worse did not happen. Instead of focusing on what you lost access to, focus on what you retained, your peace, your stability, your forward momentum. And hold on to this truth carefully. What is being revealed next will confirm everything you are sensing right now. There is a clarity forming that will make this entire interruption make sense. You will be grateful that you listened. You will be relieved that you paused. You will recognize that the urgency was mercy in disguise. Type "I open my heart" in the comments if you receive this instruction. Blessing code 316 is now activated. May every layer of confusion dissolve. May your discernment sharpen. May your spirit align quickly with divine strategy. As you open, may peace flood your decisions and clarity guard your steps. You will be thankful you leaned into this moment, because what comes next is not just protection. It is preparation for something greater. There is a powerful truth woven into everything that has happened around February 25th. Divine intervention does not remove human responsibility. Heaven can block the road. Heaven can divert the accident. Heaven can send a warrior to stand guard, but your response to that intervention determines what unfolds next. Protection has been activated. Now alignment must be chosen. Some people experience divine interruption and grow bitter. Others experience it and grow wiser. The difference is not in what was blocked. It is in how they responded to the block. Right now, you are standing at a spiritual crossroads. The accident has been diverted, but the lesson must be embraced. Your response determines whether this moment becomes frustration or transformation. You can resist the route and cling to what almost happened. You can replay the missed opportunity in your mind. You can question why things did not go according to your expectations. Or you can step into agreement with heaven and declare, if it was blocked, it was not meant for me. Agreement is powerful. When you agree with divine protection, you close the door to regret. When you agree with the route, you silence the voice of doubt. When you agree with the delay, you unlock the peace that comes from trust. But agreement is not passive. It is intentional. It is a conscious decision to align your perspective with what heaven has already decided. There is also something spiritual about verbal declaration. What you speak in moments of interruption sets the tone for what follows. If you speak fear, you amplify uncertainty. If you speak trust, you amplify clarity. If you speak resentment, you prolong confusion. But if you speak gratitude, you accelerate breakthrough. This is not about pretending disappointment does not exist. It is about choosing faith over reaction. Because reaction is emotional. Faith is intentional. Some of you are closer to breakthrough than you realize. The accident that was intended to derail you would have consumed your focus for months. It would have drained your energy. It would have entangled you in recovery instead of advancement. But now that it has been diverted, you have momentum available. You have clarity preserved. You have strength intact. What you do with that preserved strength matters. Will you use it to complain about what almost was? Or will you use it to prepare for what is coming? February 25th was not just a warning. It was a wake-up call. A reminder that your destiny is valuable enough to be guarded. A reminder that unseen battles are fought on your behalf. A reminder that you are not navigating alone. Your response determines whether you grow more sensitive to divine guidance or more skeptical of it. If you honor this moment, your discernment will sharpen. You will recognize warning signs faster next time. You will trust subtle nudges without second-guessing them. You will move forward with increased awareness. But if you ignore this moment, if you brush it aside as coincidence, you risk dulling your sensitivity to protection. There is also a ripple effect to your response. The way you handle divine interruption influences those around you. When others see you respond with peace instead of panic, they learn trust. When they see you respond with gratitude instead of frustration, they learn perspective. Your alignment becomes a testimony. Right now, declare in your spirit, I choose alignment. I choose trust. I choose gratitude. Let those words anchor you. Let them stabilize your emotions. Let them quiet any lingering doubt. And if this message has confirmed what you have been sensing, do not keep it to yourself. Type I agree with heaven in the comments as a public declaration of alignment. Share this message with someone who is misinterpreting their delay as rejection. They may need this confirmation urgently. And if you have not yet subscribed, this is your moment to connect more deeply with messages that sharpen your discernment and strengthen your faith. When you engage, you are not just supporting a platform. You are standing in agreement with the protection over your life. There is momentum building ahead of you now. Outright momentum. Out-pressure momentum. but steady, guarded progress. And your response today sets the tone for how you will step into it. Remember this carefully. The accident did not happen. The collision was cancelled. The disruption was diverted. That is not small. That is significant. So respond like someone who has been preserved. Respond like someone who understands that unseen battles were fought for their future. Respond like someone whose destiny is worth defending. Because the road ahead is opening again. And this time, it will not carry the hidden instability that once waited there. This time, it will carry confirmation instead of confusion. But how you walk onto that road depends on how you respond right now. Choose alignment. Choose trust. Choose gratitude. And watch how the next chapter unfolds with clarity instead of chaos. Pause for a moment and imagine a different version of this story. Imagine that there was no interruption, no hesitation, no delay, no block in the road. Imagine that February 25th passed like any other day, and you moved forward exactly as you planned. A meeting happened. The decision was finalized. The trip was taken. The agreement was signed. Everything unfolded smoothly, at first. But beneath its smooth surface, something unstable was waiting. If you had ignored the warning, if you had pushed past the pause, the accident intended for your destiny would not have looked dramatic in the beginning. It would have started small. A subtle shift in tone. A minor misunderstanding. A detail that seemed insignificant. But over time, that small instability would have grown. Pressure would have built. Tension would have multiplied. And what began as excitement would have slowly transformed into entanglement. That is how destiny accidents operate. They rarely explode immediately. They unravel gradually. You might have found yourself committed to something that drained your peace. You might have realized too late that the alignment was wrong. You might have invested time, energy, resources, and emotion into a path that required constant repair. Instead of building momentum, you would have been managing damage. And the most dangerous part, you would have questioned yourself. You would have wondered how you missed the signs. You would have replayed the early warnings in your mind. You would have recognized that subtle hesitation you once felt and regretted ignoring it. The accident would not only have affected your circumstances, it would have shaken your confidence. That is what was truly at stake. Because when confidence is damaged, hesitation follows. When hesitation settles in, opportunities become harder to trust. And when trust erodes, destiny feels distant. The enemy does not just aim to create chaos. He aims to create doubt. Doubt about your discernment. Doubt about your judgment. Doubt about your ability to hear guidance. If you had ignored the divine block, you might have stepped into months of unnecessary recovery. Time spent untangling commitments. Time spent healing from emotional strain. Time spent rebuilding clarity. And while you were repairing, other opportunities would have required your attention. The cost would not only have been external, it would have been internal. But that is not what happened, because heaven intervened. February 25th became the line where almost ended. The accident was scheduled, but it was not permitted. The collision was prepared, but it was not executed. The disruption was positioned, but it was not allowed to proceed. You were closer than you realized. And that realization should not frighten you, it should humble you. There are moments in life when we think we are in control of our direction. We map the route. We estimate the timing. We calculate the risk. But what we cannot calculate are unseen variables, hidden motives, unstable foundations, spiritual opposition that does not announce itself openly. If this intervention had not occurred, the road ahead would have looked fine for a while, but cracks would have formed, pressure would have increased, and eventually the weight of misalignment would have become undeniable. Instead of stepping into peace, you have stepped into pressure. Instead of advancing with clarity, you would have moved with confusion. Instead of celebrating progress, you would have been questioning decisions. That is the silent danger of ignoring divine instruction. It does not always result in immediate disaster. It results in slow erosion. But here is the powerful truth. You did not ignore it. Something inside you pause. Something inside you listen. Something inside you open. And because you responded, the story changed. This part of the message is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create gratitude. Gratitude that you were sensitive enough to recognize the block. Gratitude that heaven valued your future enough to intervene. Gratitude that what could have been a season of damage is now a testimony of protection. There are many people who only understand divine guidance after experiencing the consequences of ignoring it. They learn through pain. They grow through recovery. But you are learning through prevention. You are growing through protection. And that is mercy. Take a moment to breathe in that truth. The accident did not happen. A derailment did not occur. The regret did not take root. Because a warrior stood in the road. Because heaven recalculated your path. Because divine strategy outweighed destructive intent. What would have happened if you ignored this? You would have survived, and perhaps you would have endured, certainly. But you would have carried unnecessary scars. Instead, you carry awareness. Instead of repair, you carry redirection. Instead of damage, you carry discernment. And that discernment will serve you far beyond February 25th. It will guide your next decisions. It will sharpen your instincts. It will remind you that hesitation is not always weakness. It is sometimes warning. The road ahead is no longer shadowed by what almost happened. It is illuminated by what was prevented. And that difference changes everything. Now that the accident has been diverted, now that the collision has been canceled, now that the warrior has stood guard and the delay has done its work, there is something you must see clearly. The road ahead is not empty. It is being prepared. Divine protection does not simply block danger and leave you standing still. It clears space for something better. It removes instability so that stability can be established. It closes unsafe paths so that aligned ones can open. February 25th was not just about stopping what was wrong. It was about preparing what is right. There is construction happening in the unseen realm. While you were processing the delay, heaven was recalibrating your direction. While you were questioning the interruption, alignment was being refined. The new road forming before you is not rushed. It is not pressure. It is intentional. This road will feel different. Where there was urgency before, there will now be peace. Where there was confusion before, there will now be confirmation. Where there was pressure to decide quickly, there will now be clarity that does not demand haste. You will notice the difference immediately if you are attentive. The atmosphere around your next step will not feel heavy. It will feel steady. The new road being prepared carries divine fingerprints. It will not require you to compromise your values to maintain it. It will not demand that you ignore red flags to preserve it. It will not force you to silence your discernment in order to progress. Instead, it will align with who you are becoming. Because that is another truth you must recognize. You are not the same person you were at the beginning of this journey. The delays, the warnings, the redirections, they have matured you. They have sharpened your awareness. They have strengthened your spiritual sensitivity, and the road ahead must match that growth. If the accident had occurred, you would have been building from a place of repair. But now, you will build from a place of readiness. There is something powerful about readiness. It means you move forward without hidden fractures. It means you step into opportunity without unresolved instability. It means you carry wisdom instead of wounds. The new road may not look exactly like the one you imagined. It may curve in ways you did not expect. It may introduce connections you did not anticipate. But it will carry one unmistakable quality: alignment. Alignment feels like peace even when the details are still unfolding. You will not need to convince yourself that it is right. You will not need to force momentum. You will not need to silence inner caution. Instead, there will be a quiet assurance rising within you, a knowing that does not shout, but settles. Some of you will begin to see signs of this preparation almost immediately. New conversations will surface. Fresh ideas will emerge. Opportunities that once seemed distant will move closer, and they will arrive without the same chaotic energy that surrounded what was blocked. The difference between the old road and the new one is not just safety. It is sustainability. What is being prepared for you now is designed to endure. It is not built on unstable ground. It is not dependent on fragile circumstances. It is structured with long-term purpose in mind. This is why the delay was necessary, because sometimes the only way to reach a better destination is to avoid a convincing distraction. The enemy tried to position a shortcut that would have led to setback, but heaven removed the shortcut and extended a secure pathway. It may take patience. It may require trust, but it will not demand recovery from preventable damage. The new road also carries restoration. Any confidence that was shaken by the interruption will be rebuilt. Any frustration that lingered will dissolve as clarity increases. Any doubt about whether you are guided will be replaced with assurance that you are covered. You will begin to see patterns of favor that confirm this redirection was intentional. Doors will open that feel effortless. Support will appear in ways that surprise you. Confirmation will arrive without you chasing it. That is how you know the road is prepared. It does not require force. It flows. And as it unfolds, you will realize that February 25th was not just about avoiding danger. It was about positioning you for something stronger. The path ahead is not fragile. It is fortified. It has been inspected. It has been cleared. It has been aligned. You are not standing at a dead end. You are standing at the entrance of a rerouted destiny. And when you take your next step, it will not feel like stepping into uncertainty. It will feel like stepping into preparation that was made specifically for you. The accident is behind you. The interruption has served its purpose. The warrior has ensured your safety. Now the new road is forming, steady, aligned, and ready for your footsteps. And when you walk forward, you will carry the quiet confidence of someone who knows they were protected for a reason. As we come to this final moment, let everything settle in your spirit. February 25th was not random. It was not ordinary. It was not just another date passing quietly on a calendar. It was a line drawn in the unseen realm, a divine interruption, a strategic block, a warrior standing in your road, an accident intended for your destiny, diverted in real time. You were not delayed by mistake. You were shielded on purpose. From the very beginning of this message, one truth has echoed clearly. What felt like resistance was protection. What looked like inconvenience was intervention. What appeared to be frustration was preservation. Archangel Michael standing in your path was not a symbol of denial. It was a declaration of defense. You are not walking through life unguarded. There are battles you never saw because they were fought before they reached you. There were collisions scheduled that never occurred. There were disruptions positioned that never activated. And one day, when heaven reveals the full picture, you will realize just how close you were to a season of unnecessary recovery. But instead of recovery, you were given redirection. Instead of damage, you were given discernment. Instead of derailment, you were given divine strategy. The road ahead of you is no longer shadowed by hidden instability. It has been inspected, cleared, realigned. What waits in front of you now is not chaos, it is confirmation. Not confusion, but clarity. Not pressure, but peace. And this is the assurance you must carry with you. You are divinely shielded. Not occasionally, not temporarily, but intentionally. There is a covering over your destiny, a watchfulness over your calling, a vigilance around your timing. You are not navigating alone. The same hand that blocked the danger is the same hand that is guiding your future. Do not allow lingering doubt to question what heaven has already secured. Do not let disappointment over what did not happen overshadow gratitude for what was prevented. There are people who learn through collision. You learn through protection. That is mercy. And now, as you move forward, you will do so with sharpened awareness. You will recognize subtle warnings faster. You will trust divine nudges more quickly. You will understand that hesitation can be holy, that delay can be sacred, that interruption can be salvation. The accident intended for your destiny did not succeed. The enemy's timing was disrupted. The trap was exposed. The route was activated. And you are still standing, stronger, wiser, more aligned than before. Carry this assurance into the days ahead. When something slows unexpectedly, remember this moment. When a door closes without explanation, remember this intervention. When plans shift suddenly, remember February 25th. Remember that being blocked does not mean being abandoned. It means being protected. And now receive this final declaration over your life. You will not be taken out by what you did not see coming. You will not be derailed by hidden agendas. You will not be entangled in assignments that are not aligned. You will walk into what is prepared for you, whole, steady, and guarded. Type "I am shielded" in the comments if you receive this. Blessing code 581 is now activated. May divine protection surround your home. May wisdom guard your decisions. May peace confirm your direction. May every future trap dissolve before you ever approach it. You are covered. You are preserved. You are defended. Stand in that confidence. Walk in that awareness. Rest in that assurance. Because the road ahead is no longer a place of fear, it is a path of favor. And the God who blocked the accident is the same God who will bless your steps. You are divinely shielded. Now walk forward without fear. If this message has touched your spirit, let this moment become a seed in the ground. When you give through super thanks, step into membership, or sow through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on your screen. You are helping this protective word reach someone before their collision happens. The word declares, "I will command my angels concerning you," and tonight that promise is alive over every giver. I sense this clearly. I am responding in obedience to this protection. Let your giving become a prophetic act that says, "Lord, use me to divert accidents in other destinies." As you sow, may open heavens respond. May protection increase around your household. Do not hesitate, move as you are led, and seal this message with action. This channel stands because of faithful hearts who understand that spreading warning, protection, and alignment is holy work. When you partner through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are pouring oil into a lamp that guides others out of danger. The scripture whispers, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not a distant verse. It is a living promise speaking over you now. I feel compelled to say it plainly. I am stepping into agreement with heaven's strategy. Let your generosity become your declaration that you believe in divine protection. As you give, may favor chase you. May your steps be guarded. Act now and become part of this shield of light. This was not just a message, it was a rescue. And when you choose to support through Super Thanks, membership, or the PayPal link and QR code provided, you are extending that rescue to someone else who is moments away from their own February 25th. The Lord says, "Those who sow in tears shall reap in joy," and today your seed carries protection for another soul. I declare this boldly. I am answering this call with faith. Let your offering be more than support. Let it be obedience. As you release it, may blessings return multiplied. Step forward now and take your place in this mission of divine intersection.